world, they often do that. You see, they try and make democracy activists bankrupt. You see, they've done it in Singapore, haven't they? And in particular with this citizens radio thing, it is a concern because obviously all the equipment to keep having to buy equipment, that costs money, doesn't it? And it's OFTA, isn't it? The government agency OFTA, to do with radios. They're aware of that. You see, and there's almost some sort of cat and mouse game going on, and I think they're trying to financially, trying to get the stick out on
and the key man is Wong Yuk Man.
That's right. And oppressive governments around the world have guys exactly like Mr. Wong Yuk Man. These what I call very slick lawyers. He's a relatively young guy, but he's obviously studied the law in huge detail. And oppressive governments around the world employ these clever little guys to use the law.
Actually, he's an asshole.
Using the law in a sinister way, right? Just like the McLibel case, right? They utilize an unjust British law, which is a very old, archaic law, right? But in the end, it's a good story, right? Repealing even that archaic and unjust law, right? Now, this whole fiasco has certainly shown up that the government has too many tools at their own hand, which are dirty trick tools, right? Which they can help them to really violate the basic human rights of a certain person, especially when he's executing civil disobedience. This is scandalous.
Scandalous, and it's waste of time, waste of money. Because the government have money, he has money, he has the power, he has the authority to do it. I remember terms. Maybe it's jokes. People call other guys brown nose, and not many Hong Kong people know about it. I just said the word asshole, about like 5 minutes ago. But can Matt describe what's the relation in brown nose and asshole?
This guy,
I think it's in Hong Kong they talk about shoe shiner, don't they?
Shoe shiner.
That's. Let me just say, I think shoe shiner is a bit more a more polite expression than the one you just said.
Brown nose.
I don't want to go into exactly what that means, actually.
This Wong Yuk Man, together with Mimi, are an alumni of a famous secondary school in Hong Kong.
And become a brown nose.
He became a disgrace to my school.
Because basically, he'll do anything that Donald Tsang tells him to do. Basically, and Adolf Hitler, he also used clever lawyers to basically, to change in a very subtle, clever way, maintain total control over the society. But I think the point I wanted to talk about is the media. I think the Hong Kong activists need to realise that the majority of the media, in a very between-the-lines way, actually support this particular case to do with citizens radio. And I think they'll support more acts of civil disobedience in the future. I think we're running out of time for the first half. Is that right? And we'll be back in a minute.
Back in a minute and talk about bureaucracy and Gaza.
Okay. Okay, so we're just going to finish off talking about the Citizens Radio. Just as regards our international listeners, we better just explain a bit because they can't, haven't really followed quite the story on it. But just to explain, the court case was actually won originally, wasn't it, by the Citizens Radio Group back in 8th of January last year, in 2008. Is that right? Yeah. So since then, it's been an ongoing story. But on that date, the Citizens Radio actually won the case when the magistrate declared the government were behaving unconstitutionally, and it was the appeal, wasn't it, last month? Yeah. Which reversed that decision, and that's why it's got to go back to the magistrate's court. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I'm right in saying that as regards the people who are actually being taken to court, they are none of the government allies, as it were. Am I right in saying there has been some quite selective charging, prosecutions? Because am I right in saying that some people who are friendly with the government actually also spoke on that radio program, didn't they?
Yes.
But interestingly enough, am I right in saying that they weren't charged, and it was only members of the pro-democracy camp, which just about sums up and shows what exactly is going on, I think.
Seen to be done, even in the process of prosecution.
Yeah, I mean, that is blatantly,
contravening the spirit of justice.
Yeah, and it's a government blatantly being political in that sense.
Yeah, and the one in charge is Wong Yuk Man.
He's the guy, isn't he?
So everybody remember this guy. Yeah.
All right. So I think we've probably said enough about that, and we might talk more about it in future programs as the court case develops, I think, because it is an interesting case to follow. Yeah. But we're going to talk more. We're going to we've got a couple of other things we want to talk about in the second half. I think the case to do with the Caritas is quite an interesting story. The case of the
Caritas Hospital,
the medical centre,
minor staff, right? Refused to phone 999 and refused to do any help, and then resulting in the death of an arteriosclerosis patient.
Yeah, just 100 meters away from the door of the hospital, and it asked the patient's son to dial 999, and then the ambulance arrived and picked that guy up, and then back in there for the all roundabouts for 70 minutes, and that guy was dead. And then and then up to about 3 to 4 days ago, before the new year, and the medical center had the report came out and said, because the guideline is the guideline, so the guideline tells you to dial 999, and that staff helped to dial 999, so he or she has no problem. The receptionist has no problem, and she should not be blamed. So we will add the other new guidelines to see, and then we put the patient in the first priority. So that's we call bureaucracy. I think not many young people in Hong Kong know bureaucracy. Yeah. Bureaucracy is 官僚.
Yeah. That's the Chinese word, is it?
官僚. Yeah.
官僚. In my country, we call it bureaucracy gone mad. And there's something very typical about that particular story, very typical of Hong Kong in my the way I look at it. I mean, an incident like that just wouldn't happen quite in Western countries. But there's something about, in terms of the mindset, the way that people are trained when they're given a job here, and when they're laid down. When people are given a job, they are told very strictly, this is exactly what your responsibilities are. Bang, bang, bang. And and in this particular case, Hong Kongers, often are not able to see, beyond, the actual strict responsibilities that they've been told. And this reception, obviously, because she was not actually told, or she was told, she was not actually told, you've got to be flexible, you've got to be, have some responsibility outside the hospital. If someone, because she hasn't actually been told it, as being, not, being able to imagine it, I think.
Is a male or female?
I don't know. It's male. It wasn't
really. I do feel a bit sorry for it in some ways, having to face that sort of very negative media onslaught. It can't have been easy. But in my country, for example, there might be a story of someone working, and perhaps they were drinking, perhaps they were drunk. They'd done something like that. But with this case, it's almost that someone has been sort of over efficient. Almost, they've been over